Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, a weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. As you can hear from my voice, definitely more rested than the last several pieces of content I've put out. But that being said, I've got like 5 videos to work on after this, so I think we're going to just lightning around the whole video. Apologies in advance for the low effort, but just need to do it so I can fit some things in on my schedule because I still got to work on Guides for the Dungeons, thoughts of videos. I have to do this. There's something else I'm working on that I can't tell you about just yet. On top of that, I have to get ready to do Pandemonium normal videos. Those are going to be out the day of on top of the first clears. We're going to try to keep that spoiler free, and you can tell where my head is like 6 steps ahead of where my mouth is. So let's just thank the patrons. Thank you, by the way, for your support on that platform. And you don't have to because the content's free, but you do. If you can't, that's fine because it's here. But if you do, great. You're awesome. Patrons of Darkness, Kuard Drakens, Jenova, and Kurenai Oni. Thank you for going above and beyond. Let's just get into this real quick. Let's do it. Let's blast through. All right, whenever we do full lightning round ones, I don't even bother putting it on the screen because I could scroll past spoilers and stuff, and people could see it, and we don't want that, so we're just not gonna allow that to happen. So first question was a spoiler question. I'm not gonna talk about it. It was the first one I saw 6 days ago in regards to the true nature of limit breaks. There's no spoiler warning on the thing, so I'm glad that I started by making sure I didn't talk about that all too much. Do you think we'll get a bit less with 6.4 and 6.5 patches so they can push for a 24th August 2023 release to align with the 10th anniversary? No, because I don't think they care. Because the game's already been out for 11 years, technically. I know they like to pretend 1.0 doesn't exist, but they're going to keep to their schedule. They're going to keep to their content pushes, try to keep them as close to normal as they can, given that things are still very not normal. And I don't think they care that much about that as much as they care about making sure people are enjoying the game patch to patch. It's far more relevant thing to care about. What predictions did you get right for Endwalker? Honestly, most of it's like bits and pieces. I'm not going to say which because that would be a spoiler, but bits and pieces of some of my predictions. It became partially true. I'd say a bigger thing is while I was doing the story, I could pretty much call what was going to happen like 3 levels in advance. I feel like the context of the story was very well written if you were paying attention. And for that, it was great. I like being able to kind of see where things are going, but also be surprised from time to time. Mostly it was surprises though. Even if I had like inklings of things I predicted that were kind of right, they never went the way I wouldn't have predicted the way they went, I suppose. Are there any viable alternatives to overmelded crafted gear for new raiders? I mean, just normal mode gear. Just normal gear works fine. You don't need the pentamelded crafter set to do week 1 raids. In fact, the first fight, the expected item level is going to be like 10 item levels under the crafted gear. So that's it. You don't need that, but it gives you that edge for week 1 clearing that really, really helps. Those small percentages when you're pushing against Enrage, that's where they matter. For casual raiding, they don't. It's just a nice thing to have that little bit of an extra advantage to make up for maybe your group's just not like a high skill hardcore group, and it helps make, bridge those gaps a little bit more. But it's super not necessary for anyone who isn't doing like hardcore week 1 gotta clear the whole tier progression. Somebody here asking a question about colorblind. They have issues with mechanics involving differentiating colors. Colorblind is frustrating for him when myself or others call out color mechanics. Yeah, I had to learn to identify mechanics. So the question is, what's advice for them? I had to learn to identify mechanics not by color. It was simple as that. If something is like a triangle, for example, and there's a blue triangle and a green triangle, let's say they're just both triangles, and that's not a great colorblind association unless the colors are really poorly done. But let's say that's the case. I would be like the light triangle and the dark triangle. I basically don't bother listening to other people because a lot of the times they'll call, stand on red, stand on blue. And I have to kind of in my own head figure out what they mean. Like, okay, when they say red, they mean this type of attack. What's another way I could identify this type of attack? And so that's it. It's just coming up with alternatives to the mechanics that aren't color related and not to rely on other people's call outs because there's too much brain power has to go into it at that point. Let's see. What's another one here? Is there anywhere we can go to watch your MSQ reactions? I'm highlighting them and I will be uploading them. So you will be able to see them here. If not, you can go to my Twitch VODs. I haven't saved them all yet But I do need to, because otherwise they will eventually disappear. But it's only been a couple weeks, so I still have plenty of time for that. Are you going to release 2 Monday videos or skip one? No, we're lagging behind a week forever. I mean, this is just last week's. We basically skipped a week, and we're not really lagging behind anymore. It's just now I'm taking, this question, for example, and we're just moving on from there. We didn't, lose anything or miss anything. It's just there's a week that's absent. Let's see. I was the... Oh! If I queued in with you this weekend, I was a warrior. Character's name was Mrhappy. I seem to recall it was a DPS. You'd have to be more specific. I mean, if it was on Ether, probably. I don't know how many Mrhappy clones there are, and I've done a lot of Party Finder, but it might have been. I'd have to know what job it was. It have to be either Reaper, Summoner, or Bard, because I've never done it on anything else. And most of my runs were on Scholar and Paladin for EX Trial number 1. So there's that as well. How do you grind Aetheryte tickets? Weekly Blue Mage quests. The Mass Carnival is great. It's 60, I think, Aetheryte tickets. And Old World hunts. You can go do the weekly B ranks for, A Realm Reborn, Stormblood, Heavensward. You can go do hunts if you ever see an A rank up or an S rank up. That's a great way to do it. And you can even do the dailies if you really want, but I don't think you're that desperate. At least doing the B ranks and the Blue Mage stuff weekly is a great way to keep up on Aetheryte tickets. Let's see. Q Walker Savage. Been thinking about what job changes are coming in 0.01 and 0.05. What do you think? So 0.01 is not going to be anything based on player feedback, unless it was a super simple thing to implement. That's going to be stuff that was currently in development already that didn't make it to the launch build. So 6.01, unless it was something they were already going to do, don't expect much. 6.05, they need to keep in mind that Savage has just come out. So if anything, you'll only see buffs in 6.05, because the last thing they want to do is ruin people's kind of idea of what they want to do compositionally for Savage by nerfing something. So you might see a couple of potency buffs in there. If there was something else they were planning that didn't make it into 0.01, they might put it in 0.05. But really the big changes come in 0.1. Several months down the line, that's where you could potentially see mini job reworks or skill reworks to better suit the expansion and how things have gone thus far. Like, for example, people looking for Dark Knight. That could happen in 0.1, but wouldn't happen in 0.01 or 0.05 unless they were already planning it. So don't expect too much out of 0.01 or 0.05, but some things might get lifted up a little bit if they're a little low right now. So then we have this one. Healers seem far less essential than before. Listen, unless a warrior is tanking, I don't feel that way. But honestly, I think healing from warrior in particular is a little overtuned right now in dungeons. It feels really good, but it doesn't feel like AoE should be healing that much. And I have a feeling that they won't nerf it in 0.01, or I don't even think in 0.05. But I don't think the current version of Bloodwetting survives past 0.1. So enjoy it while you can, but I have a feeling they're not going to be okay with warriors essentially being a full heal in one GCD every 30 seconds. So that's a big thing. That being said, I don't think we have a proper gauge on anything healing related at this point, because we've only got easy content to do. Dungeons, EX trials are never that stressful on things like healing. So being able to recover from them through the tools we have now certainly is more recognizable. But I do think they wanted to give everyone a little bit more influence on the team play of mitigation, which is good. A lot of players are not very in tune with that, are not very good at gauging that, and trying to give them tools to encourage them to participate, regardless of party composition, which is reflected in a lot of the changes, I think is a very, very good idea. But it may result in situations like you're describing in easier content, especially in stuff like dungeons, and especially if Bloodwetting gets to keep existing in its current form. Let's see. Question about the recent EX trials. Fortunately, people are spoiler, they're not calling them by their names for this. I hear this is the easiest EX they added, EX Trial 1. It's certainly the least personal responsibility. Innocence was very similar in terms of the amount of personal responsibility you needed, but it had like one or two more tiny things. I always like to say, if you have one very good brain on EX Trial 1, then it's just a matter of following the leader. Whereas the other EX trial requires 8 not as big brains to do it correctly, or at least to do it with minimal headache. So that's the big thing. I mean, it's still an EX trial at the end of the day. Most people who get through don't know how to do certain mechanics, and they just follow somebody else who does know. But I think while you might have an easier time getting it clear, it's not going to speak much to the characters who are the players who are actually getting through it. So I would say to dive into other content to really actually hone skills or to learn how to do it without following a Dorito. I think that's the big thing. If you can do EX Trial 1 without following someone with a marker over their head, that speaks a lot more to the player than just completing it. So I would use that as your gauge of like how that fight has improved your skills in any specific way. Let's see. Do you think they should ever add Castrum and Dalriada to roulettes? They can't. It's impossible to do it with the way they are made. They would have to decouple them from instances and add them to their own separate instances with roulettes. You can't add them. They are part of those zones. So no, I don't think they ever go through that degree of effort. I think they'll just continue to make it so you can low man it. You can 2-man both Castrum and Dalriada pretty reliably. So I think that's where they keep it. They just keep trying to go down that path. I would say. Let's see. With the recent storyline finished, would you like to team up with a new cast? I think I like a new cast with the old cast occasionally sprinkled in. I like when any sort of media does that. So, yeah. I mean, I always like meeting new characters and seeing what they're doing. I think it's a lot of fun. Let's see. 2 most clowned on jobs before launch: Scholar and Dark Knight. Dark Knight's performing fantastically in extremes, but it's not doing so great in dungeons. So it's kind of rough. It's kind of rough. By the way, I'm going to warn you guys now. I would fix your recommendations if you have not finished yet. Because, man, I am looking down my recommended videos right now, and there are spoilers aplenty. So if you scroll through the comments, you might be in danger. Especially because the words that could be spoiled are probably somewhere in my comment section. That's going to be a rough time for people. Let's see. Are there any other changes that people want? There's still a lot of Dark Knight changes people want. Bards kind of want like one small change that would just kind of bring them more into the comfort zone. And it's less about their performance, more about the comfort of like knowing Bard, having played it for years. So there's a few things here or there. I think like some people want potency buffs. Dancer, Paladin, Summoner are in that list. And then some people want certain quality of life changes. Bard, I could think of one. Dark Knight, I could think of a few. I think that's going to be largely what people want for now. Unless Dark Knights want a full rework, which I feel like they've wanted for years. Let's see. As for the new raid series, what expectations do you have for it? 4 Fiends. Final Fantasy 4. That's the only expectation I have. I don't have any other expectation other than that. Let's see. What was your... Okay, I'm not answering that one because I feel like I can't without being a spoiler. Even though it says it's a spoiler-free question, I feel like the only way I can answer it... You know what? I can answer it. Number 1. Response number 1. That's it. Anyone who's been there will know what I'm talking about. State of the Realm. Have you thought about asking on a bunch of other people? Yeah, so we always think about asking a bunch of people on. I've had difficulties reaching out. It's a personal problem. I just feel like I'm bugging people. So often you don't see a super great variety of guests unless Sly's collecting the guest list. And then it still has to be a show that kind of makes sense. You know, we don't just like to get guests on for no reason. If we're going to get a special guest on or someone we've never had before, we like to tailor the show somewhat around their interests. And we don't always have a show lined up that can do that. Or it's a show we've already done before and it would just be getting another new voice on it. So it kind of like the timing of it needs to line up with certain things. So it has nothing to do with the individual. It's everything to do with my inability to ask people to join, which is why it's crazy that I've had on some of the guests that I've had. And then it's a matter of making sure the show is actually a show that's a good fit for them and not just trying to get them for the sake of getting them. Did you prefer Trial EX 1 or 2? 2. Definitely 2. But I like them both. And I farmed them aplenty. So I was... my opinions on them are actually largely positive. You mentioned you can manually set up to not have to click Aetheryte tickets. Yeah, I should make a quick video on that. But there's an option setting now in your teleport menu. If you look in the top right, click that and it'll let you modify your Aetheryte ticket settings. Let's see. What else do we have? Any thoughts on the spatial audio? So because I've been afraid of modifying audio, Final Fantasy 14, prior to the spatial audio thing, has a pretty... tumultuous experience with modifying audio settings, whether it be changing them on your desktop, like changing what the default audio source is, it dropping audio sources, all sorts of things. The last thing I want to do, I have the spatial audio on, and the Embody provided it for me. I gave away a few codes for it. Thank you to them. But I haven't like taken the time to sit there and turn it on and off and compare it, because I'm afraid of messing with something that is so integral in the audio settings when the cues are as long as they are. So I might do something on that sometime in the future. How do you like new Monk? I've been enjoying it. I still do my positionals as if I have them, even though I don't. So I don't feel like I'm missing them because I'm still doing them in my head. But it's actually really good. I mean, I thought it felt good at the media tour, but I was concerned about them removing more positionals. I think, though, that they did a decent job of saying, okay, we want your identity to be blitzes. The positionals, they don't need to be your identity anymore. You know, we got rid of Grease Lightning, and now positionals are your identity. We're going to take your positionals and move them instead into this highly flexible blitzing gameplay. I think they did a pretty good job of compensating. So now it's a very fast job that has this like stance dancing with the blitzes and the end result, the combos giving you that end result. I still wouldn't be mad if we got them back. I know a lot of people say they don't want them back, or they think they're glad they're gone. I'm in the boat where I could have done what the job is asking me to do now with positionals, but they didn't do it for nothing. That's what I'll say. They didn't just get rid of them for no reason. There's a very good reason when you're trying to optimize Monk why they don't have positionals at this point. Someone else asked about Aetheryte ticket farming. Somebody else asking a question that's not really spoilerific, but I feel like answering it is like spoiler. It's like a spoiler for me to answer it because I have to acknowledge the way the story played out to answer it correctly. It's about the Scions, but I'm not gonna take that question. Next quality of life improvement you look forward to? I don't care. I got the Aetheryte tickets. Well, oh, I do have one. Mount playlists. So being able to make multiple playlists of mounts, like let's say I want to have a Stormblood playlist and a Shadowbringers playlist and an Endwalker playlist. That way I don't just have one mount roulette or everything. I want to be able to make like individualized ones. So that's the next one. And you can do the same for minions, I guess. You think they'll add housing areas in Endwalker? Not anytime soon. Maybe in like 6 years. Let's see. Can you carry a free company across data centers? No. So when the OCE opens up, you would have to give up whatever your house has, whatever your FC has, and you have to make a new one on OCE. Or, I mean, that's true of any data center, but your example is asking specifically about OCE. Number 4, world transfer system being implemented in other hub cities? Probably not. It wouldn't change much of anything. I don't think it's a priority for them. They want to make sure that, yeah, while you could technically use it anywhere, they want to make sure that it's kind of focused around those beginner areas the most. At least that's how it seems. Do you think they would add Aegiglam for the 3 major summons for Summoner? Probably not. I think maybe Carbuncle itself, which obviously is way less important now because it just doesn't attack and sits there. Which does actually make it easier for them to do Aegiglam because they only have to do the 2 animations, and probably they could make those both the same animation for the shield and for Searing Light. So no, but I do think I think they're still working on Aegiglam, but it's only going to be for the Carbuncle. How would you ask Rainix to add to current summoner for the next expansion? I mean, there's so many buttons they could add. Like the fact that there's so few buttons means there's so much room to add things without bloating the job, which gets me excited for the future of summoner, because they've gone down this route where the sky's the limit and they can constantly change things and it will still be summoner and it'll still be cool. And this identity, I think, it carries far, I think, is the big thing. And by the way, if you see me hear me clicking and looking over sometimes, it's because I'm making sure I stay logged in, because I have videos to record after this. Meme question: how much copium am I for wanting Beastmaster pets to be trusts? Maximum copium. That's a nice easy one. This is one about this. Again, it's another spoiler kind of related one. It talks about a hint Yoshi P gave us and if it was accomplished. And A, I don't know the answer because I don't think so. And B, I don't want to get too into it because I feel like, again, I'd have to talk about MSQ stuff in order to answer it adequately. What's your main this expansion? My raid team wants me to play Bard for the first tier. I told them, bro, I like so many of these jobs. Just pick like any of the range physical. Pick like 3 out of the 5 melee or Black Mage or Summoner. I'll play any of them for DPS. We landed on Bard, which was not too surprising. I was range physical when I was brought into this static. We were thinking of maybe having me go caster and doing double caster, 1 range phys, 1 melee. But Whoops really wants to play Dragoon. I want him to play what he wants, and I really enjoy Bard, so I really don't mind. Maybe I get to try something else later, but if anything, I'll just play other stuff in the Party Finder, because I like a lot of jobs right now. Let's see. What ninja bug? They detailed it on the lodestone. It'll be fixed on Tuesday. It's an interaction between Doton and Forked and Fleeting Raiju when you trigger the new skill. Most people end up doing it with with Phantom, they trigger the Doton Pulse. The Doton Pulse interrupts Forked and Fleeting Raiju and cancels their buff because it's coded as a weapon skill by accident. They acknowledged it. They said it was already something they were planning on fixing before they even launched, but it just wasn't ready in time. So you won't have to worry about that after Tuesday. It's honestly, it can be completely avoided by moving Phantom over now or by not Dotoning in the opener, pre-pull. So as long as you're not doing that, it's usually okay. I did notice your blackout. I don't have a question, but I say I did notice your blackout. I haven't been able to play. I'm enjoying going over your Twitch stream. Oh, well, thanks. I thought, well, you doing good was a question, and I am doing good. Yo, so many people pointing out to the food question for last week was, what's your go-to grinding food? I don't eat food in game when I'm grinding like crazy, unless it's like, I mean, if it's like a dungeon, I just eat everything that's in my inventory because most of the time quests have given me like leftover food items. But I don't have an answer for that because I don't have a go-to grinding food in game. I thought it was like, when you're grinding in a game, you have like a snack, like I have like jerky and stuff. That's what I thought the question was. Apparently it was wrong, but that's fine. I didn't have an answer for it, so my answer was better than the answer they would have gotten. What'd you think of the last fight? Looking forward to it on Extreme. That's all I'll say. That's as close as you get. Do effects that say increase healing via healing actions affect ability heals? Yeah, so if it says healing actions, I believe so. It's if it says healing spells that it only applies to global cooldowns. You know what? Actually, I'm not confident in that answer. I think that's how it would have worked classically, but man, I don't know. I haven't really kept up with the wording on healing. So you know what? I'm going to say that's a non-answer. Don't take that at face value. I would read something on like the healer balance or something like that. Somebody asking about Aetheryte tickets again. Wow, a lot of Aetheryte ticket questions. What are your thoughts on the Sage level 90 skill? I love Numa. I know you said it seems underwhelming, but the design of it is so smart. It's a GCD. It's damaging. It's a DPS increase on multiple targets. It's damage neutral on a single target. It doesn't waste your GCD. So like you're not like wasting like a GCD not doing DPS. You're still doing DPS, which is a big focus of endgame healers. And it's got the AoE heal attack. It's just everything about it is smart. I love that design. It's the same with Microcosmos. I'm a huge fan of that design philosophy because it opens up things for healers, for them to be able to add skills that have healing, damage mitigation, the regen, whatever. They can add those to healers, give them offensive values, and it kind of just makes sense in Final Fantasy XIV. It's by default attuned to Final Fantasy XIV's gameplay, and I think they should do it with more skills, not just these capstone skills. I hope they do that in the future, and I think it's a really good idea. Even with the change to it in release with it not having the damage reduction, I just think it's just designed really, really well. Somebody asked if everything got scaled down. Yes, there was a stat squish, and that includes the weapon damage on weapons and things like that. What item level will Pandemonium normal drop? 580. It'll be 580 left side, specifically. Well, actually, no, there will be 580 right side also. You can get another ring. So yeah, it's all 580. It's everything 580, just no weapon. The only thing there won't be is a weapon. Now that the story is concluded, how'd you feel about it? Favorite expansion story, by far. I've got more to say about it, but I'll save that for a separate video. Do you have any foreshadows what job might share gear with Ninja in the future? Nier? I don't want Nier. Get that shit out of here. No. I don't know anymore, man. I just want Puppet Master. Okay. I have no idea. No, I don't have a foreshadowing for that. There's things they can do. There's job fantasies they can meet. Even changing a few things around, they can make it work. They could also adjust the ninja gear to be flexible across more than just a scouting type. They could rename it and like give it another half identity or something. Kind of like samurai and monk are both striking, but in my head that doesn't translate super well, but that's because I think of like the heavy armored samurais. You know what I'm saying? What other jobs across roles feel familiar? What jobs and other roles feel most like Gunbreaker? None of them. Gunbreaker is very, very unique. It's very busy for a tank, and honestly, if you're just looking for something fast, Bard has a ton of OGCDs. That's not a bad option. Machinist Burst window is very, very busy. Might feel somewhat familiar. Dancer's Burst kind of, but not really. I think that's going to feel a lot slower. Dragoon's got a ton of OGCDs. Monk doesn't really, but it's fast. Samurai is pretty busy, but not the same kind of busy as Gunbreaker is. Ninja's very busy, but Ninja's in a weird spot right now. Yeah, I don't know. I guess like Dragoon, Bard, Machinist. Yeah, that's it. I think that's really it in my opinion. But that's because I wouldn't even really compare those to Gunbreaker. That's how I feel about that. Let's see. There's something about Astro. Curious if you've heard any feedback. A lot of people don't like Astrodyne. They don't like the redraw system, and they don't like Astrodyne. They don't like the stress behind. I mean, it's just personal DPS, so it doesn't hurt much. But because of the redraw system, Astrodyne I've heard people not liking. So that's really the big thing I've heard from Astros. But I'm sure there's more than that. I just haven't been paying much attention because everyone's playing Scholar and Sage anyway. So I see that more than anything else. Let's see. Sage, Ifrit, a lot of Ifrit comments from last week. Let's see. Do you think we ever have hybrid jobs? No. No. They won't. I'm just going to say right now, they won't. Because they already don't. Listen, they were so against hybridization that they said if they could, they would separate Summoner and Scholar from Arcanist. And they've done their best. They can't. They basically said they can't really get rid of the class system super easily. Like they could, but the amount of effort wouldn't really be worth it. And if they would separate that. They do not want anything hybrid at all. This for balance reasons. It's not even just balance, it's also updating them. Because then when they change their skills, they have to keep in mind both versions of the job. And on top of that, then they need to design it so that when they adjust one thing, it doesn't affect the other. They're not going to do that. No, that's probably not going to happen. I say probably because obviously I don't work for the dev team. But let's be real, that's probably never going to happen. Let's see. Okay, this person does have a question. Good, because it's a little spoilerific, so I don't want to talk it up. Let's see. Okay, we're getting towards the section where there's not as many questions, and it's just like comments that got pushed down. Let's see. There's the Bug Ninja question. How do you feel about the pacing between Endwalker and Shadowbringers? I can actually bring that up. I think that Endwalker is very much for the person who loves the characters that your character is interacting with, that you've interacted with over the years. Whereas Shadowbringer is a lot more about pushing the story forward so that you can experience things. So people who love character moments will probably resonate with Endwalker more, and people who love set pieces and scenes more directly will probably get more of a kick out of Shadowbringers. I think that's a fair enough thing to say without spoiling anything. And then you can still appreciate both the actual stories that take place, even if you have a difference in opinion on those particular things. Login joke high for a second. Yeah, okay, I think I got through all the questions that weren't spoilerific. Wow, I got through that really quick. And that's what I wanted. I think it's the first time I've lightning rounded something and actually gotten through it in a decent amount of time. So thank you for watching this week's episode of Mondays with Mr. Happy. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share. And if you have a question, ask it in the comment section of the video below. If you have a spoiler question, tag it. I might not be able to get the spoiler questions anytime soon. I'm really trying not to take them for the first little bit, even though we did spoiler cast. So I can't promise I'll answer a spoiler question. Sorry, just can't promise it right now. But anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the next video. And until then, take care.